Much to learn you have, young Padawan.
Candy, 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 candy.
Hey Loki, it's Candy Paws here, and here's a video to all you young furries out there. Now, you might be asking, Miss Candy Paws, what is a young furry? Well, usually when we're talking about young furry, it just means a young furry. I would consider anyone under the age of maybe 17 to be considered a young furry. Just because when you're 17, you can play rated M games, watch rated R movies, you are driving at this point, and you could join the military. So anyone under the age of 17, I would consider a young furry. Now for people who are new to the fandom can also take this bit of advice because it seems to be more of the lack of knowledge of what is to be expected in the furry fandom that kind of titles somebody as a young furry, because sometimes we don't know someone's age unless we ask. I, for example, get these specific questions from younger furries who are around like middle school age. So this video is going to address a lot of those questions that you guys have asked me. Now, first of all, I think it's very important to have younger furries in the fandom because it's a sign that this fandom is growing and y'all are going to be the ones that are going to replace us someday. So eventually you get older. I honestly think after all these years that I've been in a furry, like these 6 years specifically that I've been a furry, I've been seeing a huge growth in younger furries wanting to join or finding interest in joining the furry fandom, which is amazing because you guys bring new talents, new careers, just a bunch of new things to the fandom that makes it more unique and open. And so seeing that growth is really heartwarming, and it's completely necessary to have you guys in the fandom. And we just welcome anyone ages to 0 to 100. It doesn't matter on age, and it's very important to have all sorts of people be part of this fandom because a fandom is not something that is just taken for a certain group of people. It's for everybody to enjoy. So now that we got that out of the way, I want to clear a very common misconception that I always get asked by y'all little youngsters. And that is, can I become a furry without a fursuit? Or, actually, this would be a little more accurate. Oh, I wish I could become a furry, but I don't have a fursuit. So that's basically what I see all the time in all my comments. Now, I just recently made a video of how to become a furry. Of course, it was satire and a joke, but I did address this issue where I joke around saying, oh, you need a fursuit in order to be a furry, because I joke about that all the time. Because even I was a furry before I ever had Candy Paws as a suit. A furry is just somebody that is interested or fan of anthropomorphic animals. And us furries constantly repeat this over and over again until y'all understand that. You do not need something, and there's no requirements to become a furry. And especially, you do not need a fursuit to be a furry. My husband has been a furry for 12 years, and he does not want a fursuit because it's just not his thing. He's just a fan. I really like the art and the costumes and all the artistic things that come with being a fur. So that's why I put a lot of my time and effort and money into getting a fursuit because it's something that was my goal to get eventually. But I was a furry for 3 years before I eventually got a suit. And I got a suit when I was like 21? I don't know, I can't remember what age I was. But like, I was in my 20s before I got a suit. So I see all these little cute youngsters who really want a suit super badly. And I completely understand. They are very cute. I had those same feelings when I went to a convention and I saw all these cute suits. And oh boy, did I want a suit. So I understand. And I'm an adult. I had those feelings when I was an adult, right? I can only imagine how intensified it must be, because when I was a little kid, oh my gosh, I was so impatient. So I can understand. I've been there. I was a kid once. But the thing is that you're gonna grow up anyway, and you're not gonna fit into the suit. You are still learning your likes, your interests with things. When I was a little kid, my favorite color was yellow. But if your parents allow you to get a fursuit, it's a really good idea just to maybe buy ahead. You know, they're cheaper and they're, you know, you're able kind of to do that. So I would suggest, you know, if your parents are willing to get you a fursuit, there are some websites that I'll try to look into. Maybe I can share a link of maybe like a website that people go to that buy pre-owned, or artists or fursuit makers make suits and then kind of put them online so you can bid on them or buy them. I know a lot of 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds that do have fursuit heads, and it's just very unlikely because they are expensive. I wouldn't expect my parents to pay for it, so I don't think you should. It is a hobby, so any hobby that I partake in, you know, my parents didn't really put that much into unless I showed a lot of interest into it. For example, I was really into track, and I was very serious about track. It took a while to convince my mom to finally get me new track shoes, because I had to convince her first of how much I was into it, and I wasn't going to be wasting money saying, hey, I want shoes, and then, you know, quitting the next day or whatever. Just be mindful that, you know, a pair of shoes, it's like maybe a really good pair of shoes would maybe be like $100, where a fursuit head will be up to like $500. So it's kind of different, and it's a lot of money. You will grow up, so you won't be able to fit into it, and you're going to change. So I think it's okay to wait, but understand that you want one now, that it's hard to be patient. But yeah, to shorten things up, you just don't need a fursuit to be a furry. So don't feel like you can't join in or go to conventions, because if you guys don't watch my furry conventions, like then I can understand why you think that, because if you watch any convention videos, most of the furries there do not have suits. Even though you see a lot of pictures and maybe YouTubers online that have a fursuit, you don't necessarily need one to be in the fandom or to even start a YouTube channel. Now, I can't really say much because I did start my YouTube channel when I first got the original candy, but there's so many other examples of other furries starting their YouTube channel without a fursuit. One I can think of is Beta Eta Delta. So they started a channel without their fursuit, and they got pretty popular without even having a suit. Another thing you have to think about is that some people who decide to use their fursuit have come out to say, you know, it's due to their social anxieties or just anxiety in general. And so having that fursuit, it's a layer of protection. It can make people really comfortable. And I've mentioned this before too, where I do like to show my face in occasion. I feel very uncomfortable doing so. I rather just have my head on and do YouTube. I don't think I will, at least not in the near future, do any videos where I don't have my head on. I've done some live streams where I remove my head, but I just find it uncomfortable doing so, and that's just me. So that's another reason why maybe you will see a lot of, you know, fursuiters kind of in social media, or they have their suit on, or they just have their character displayed and not show their faces. Maybe that's also a reason as to why there's like this big common misconception as to why every furry has a fursuit. Now, another common comment I will get on my videos, or just in general, are, Candy, how do I tell my parents that I'm a furry? Well, listen there's an easy way to tell your parents that you're a furry. You don't tell them. That's right, you don't tell your parents. Now, I'm not saying to lie or to keep secrets, but being a furry is just a hobby. And I mentioned this so many times, so I'm glad that I'm finally making a video like this, because if somebody who plays games doesn't come out as being a gamer, Mom, Dad, I like to play Minecraft, and a football player doesn't come out as being a football player, Mom, I like to play football and I don't care what you gotta say about it. And a weeb doesn't come out as being a husbando collector. Mom, Dad, I collect husbandos. Or a coin collector doesn't come out to their parents as wanting to collect coins. Mom, Dad, I collect coins. No, please don't kick me out of the house, please. Then you shouldn't be wanting to come out to your parents about being a furry. It's just silly. It's silly to come out as being a furry. It's just a hobby. And if your parents don't understand what a furry is, then just feel free to educate them. Like, your parents don't know everything, you know, especially what's on the internet. And if they don't understand, then I guess they just don't have to be a part of it with you. Like, there's a lot of things that my parents aren't interested in stuff that I do, and there's not a lot of stuff I'm interested in what they like to do. We're different people, so it's fine to just find friends and find people that you can talk to about your hobbies and interests. Now, the last thing that I guess I need to talk about is a really big problem within you young Padawans, is specifically art theft. So art theft is usually done by y'all. I mean, there's a couple adults that would do it. So it's not completely y'all, but it's something that does need to get addressed, and a lot of people just don't know. So it's not that it's initially a problem because people are just doing it just because. I think it's just like genuinely people don't know about this. I didn't know about it either. So a lot of people think that if your character is just a bit similar to somebody else's, that's considered like theft, which is completely not true. I'm a little more lenient with my things. You know, I've had teenagers, kids, ask, like any age, ask me if they can have their profile picture as me, and I'm totally okay with that. Like, if you ask permission, as long as you're not saying that you're me or you're portraying yourself as me, then I'm completely fine with it. I've met a couple people with my profile picture, and it doesn't really bother me. But the thing is that that's a little bit different than using other people's art. Now, a lot of furries in the community are artists, and it does them a little bit unjust to take their work. But at the same time, I understand that y'all are young, you can't buy things online, especially now without asking your parents. If some of you can't draw, can't make your own suits, the only other options you have is to ask permission or find art that is available. Now, there's a lot of bases online that are completely free to use. So even if you're not good at art, you can just look up free bases to use that you can kind of draw by hand and take pictures of, which is a totally okay thing to do as long as you're looking it up and you're not copying someone's fan art like straight, you know, back to front, like everything exactly the same. You should never ever post traced work or copy anyone's character. That should be pretty obvious. If you really want your own character and you don't want to draw it, you don't want to make it, then your only options is to hire somebody and either to ask your parents to commission someone or wait until you get older so that you yourself can commission an artist. But trust me, there's so many other options you can do if you want to have a character done and you just don't have the money. There's so many apps that are available to use, and you can use those apps to make your characters in them. But my favorite is whenever people hand draw their characters and start from there, because that's really showing an initiative that you really want to become part of this fandom, and that you do want to be careful following the rules, just because I've heard a lot of stories of, middle schoolers joining the fandom and then they're copying someone else's work or claiming, a art piece and saying that it's their character, and then a lot of people coming and lashing out, telling them that's not okay, you can't do that. And maybe that person just genuinely didn't know that that wasn't allowed, or how that could affect someone negatively. And so then they get this bad experience within the fandom because everyone's kind of coming and attacking them. I've been a part of one where someone traced my artist's work. I had an artist that did a work of me, and someone traced her work, so they contacted me. And then that person who traced got, all this backlash and, saying, people commenting, not okay, you shouldn't trace things. And the person who had traced was saying, I'm trying to practice, I'm trying to get better. I'm not claiming that this is mine, I just did it for practice. And it's completely fine to trace for practice, but you just shouldn't post it online, because then people get the impression that you're trying to portray that work as yours. A lot of people in even the anime community, but especially in the furry community, we just don't appreciate when our character gets taken. If you want any help in finding an artist or looking for bases, a base to use so you can start drawing yourself, you can start on paper, you don't need to have a tablet. A lot of you get really down on yourself when you're not good at something right away, right? And that's something very common for everybody in this world, right? Even for me. I gave up drawing when I was a little kid, and I'm just now picking it up. I picked it up 3 years ago, and I'm doing a bit of progress now. Like, I'm doing a little bit better. I might start doing art streams again, maybe give a little hints on how to draw. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a professional drawer or anything. Like, I'm not really a good artist, but I've been working on it, and I've definitely seen some improvements. So I'm happy to help out for those of you who are interested in, in art and getting better at that. I sadly don't know how to make suits. I wish I had that talent, because wow, like I would make suits all the time. It would be super fun. But I just haven't really been interested in getting to that. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of research. There's a lot I get into. There is a lot of videos on how to start making suits. But if you're not an artist and you don't like making suits, then just be passionate in what you want to do. You don't necessarily need to be passionate in something within the furry fandom. It could just be a hobby. You can just be like Zerdalius over here. He's just interested in the movies, the game, the art, so he'll just get art of his characters sometimes. He'll go to furry conventions, but he doesn't make fursuits, he doesn't draw. He's not really big in the community. It's just a hobby. And there's very few who actually go all the way in to the community and become like an artist and start selling merch or start selling their products. And so it is a great way to start a business if you have a design or if you want to start selling products. So obviously I decided to join the YouTube scene within the furry fandom, but honestly, just going to conventions, I would be just as happy. Going to conventions is probably the funnest thing to do in the fandom. And so eventually I decided to get a fursuit to join in all the fursuit shenanigans. And this leads to my final point is whenever you do become a furry or at least start to express it either online or in your life, you will get some hate, especially just in the online scene. I myself get a ton of hate every day, all the time in my comments of trolls and haters just hating on me because I'm just a furry. It's still a very big meme. I can sense it dying out a little bit, but we are always in the butt of the joke. It's good to just ignore those people, and I really, really hate that the younger furries have to deal with this as well, because y'all are young, and some of these things that people say should not be saying it, especially to you guys. They shouldn't be saying it to anyone, but like, especially to y'all. Like, they can come to me and I can take it. It doesn't bother me, but I know how hard that can be with younger furries and just younger people generally. So those people I really look down on, especially in my hater video that I'm sure a lot of you subscribe to my channel for. He was acting and talking that way towards a 13-year-old. And that's the thing I hate the most with haters and trolls, is that they feel like they can just do this to anyone online not knowing their age and hurting potentially a little kid when they're a 20, 30, 40 adult out there. It's like, who do you think you are talking to little kids like that when they're just trying to enjoy a hobby, a harmless hobby, and trying to be themselves, making friends, they're enjoying life. That's why I think y'all should definitely practice online safety. Make sure to protect yourself from people like that. Obviously, if you join YouTube or you start posting on social media, it's easier, on Facebook, because you can choose your friends, or on Instagram, you can choose who follows you and to make your stuff private. Only people that, follow you or that you accept can follow you back, but it's especially hard on YouTube to do that. So just be aware that once you do join the furry fandom, that you will get hate. There's still people there that judge others for being a furries, but there's also so many YouTubers out there that just love us as well. Like, I feel like that's really turning around now. I just heard of so many YouTubers that I especially watch where they've mentioned furries like 1 or 2 times, and they actually find us great, and they love us, and they love the community, and they hate how much hate we get, because it's just injustice, and it's completely wrong. And anyone, weebs got hate for so much. I got hated on for being a weeb. I didn't get bullied because I was a furry. I got hated on and bullied when I was in middle school and high school because I was a weeb and I liked anime. That's why it's just, if someone's going to make fun of you for being a furry, then they're not worth it. Especially if they're strangers online. And if those people are your friends, then they're not. They're not your friends. Friends will not treat you like crap just because of a hobby or interest you have. And if you do have friends like that currently who are making fun of you or who are bullying you just because you're a furry, then it's time to make new friends. If you do that, then you should just continue doing what you love. Have fun, because that's what's important about being a kid, is just to have fun. You shouldn't care about other people think, and you should just wait to care about that when you're an adult. Don't grow up too fast. Just have fun, be a furry, watch your cartoons, collect those stuffed animals, collect your anime figure things. Oh, thanks, computer. But anyway, all else aside, just keep having fun, you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Candy says bye-bye!